subscribing and turning on automatic download.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round to tell you about one of our favorite places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is Hamburger Heaven since 1982. Hamburger Heaven has been serving Birmingham's best hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, hand-spun milkshakes, and sandwiches made fresh to order. All of their ingredients are fresh and prepared daily. This includes their beef, always fresh, never frozen, hand-pattied each and every day. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, visit any of the 4 locations, Highway 280, Irondale, Gardendale, and Homewood. Next Round shirts, Next Round hoodies, and Next Round hats all in one place, nextround.store. Find your favorite piece of gear from your favorite show and put it in your rotation. You never know, you might be in one of our videos showing Next Round gear being worn all over the world. Find all of your favorite Next Round gear by visiting nextround.store. Place an order for you and that big Next Round fan in your life at nextround.store. Look your best at work, at school, at the stadium, or anywhere you go wearing Next Round gear from nextround.store.
It's bow time. Tired of choosing between sweet and savory? Why not have both? Introducing Bojangles' new chicken and bowberry waffles. The bold Cajun chicken filet you love, now drizzled with a bowberry honey glaze and sandwiched between 2 warm waffles. Which means your favorite meal of the day just met your new favorite dish. And lucky for you, it's served all day. But it's only here for a limited time, so try chicken and bowberry waffles at Bojangles today. It's bow time.
Hey, time for another edition of Unlock with our man Brock Huard, coming to us somewhere in the state of Colorado, wearing the old school Seahawks sweatshirt. We will start in the NFL. Look, another crazy job opening in the SEC and in college football, and we're going to circle back to that. And an amazing comeback in Starkville, Mississippi by Texas. And we've got a little Starkville angle with you that I want to get to, and Jeff Levy. But let's start in the NFL. You know, it's funny because I think a lot of us have made comparisons to the SEC with the NFL and how you've got all these one-possession games, including Alabama surviving in Columbia. But if you go back this past weekend in the NFL, 11 of 12 games decided by double digits. I mean, complete blowouts. The only exciting game we got was Jets-Bengals. Outside of that, all blowouts, Brock. And tonight, you know, right now, Kansas City's a double-digit favorite against the Washington Commanders. So this might finish a week where 12 of 13 are decided by double digits. So how do you get this many blowouts in one weekend?
Is you're getting guys banged up, right? I mean, you look at the 49ers, a team that the Seahawks saw week 1 with Nick Bosa and Kittle and all the horses and Brock Purdy and everybody, and now just Fred Warner. Now they're just decimated by injuries. And you can survive 1 or 2, but we know this about the league. And more than anything, it's become – hey, which team has their guys at the end of it? And it's why you see teams navigate things the way they do. My Seahawks, really, over the last couple of weeks, had it been playoff games, you would have seen Witherspoon, you would have seen Julian Love, you would have seen these guys. But they said, no, we got a good shot to still win these games, and we're going to need them for the long haul. We got a bye coming up, and we're going to take care of them. And, man, the science, the trainers, the technology, the whatever it is, the resources, quality organizations spend to really project and get guys for the full complement of games, Lance. It's become such a big deal behind the scenes. And once you get hit, and then you get hit again, and you get hit again, and you get hit again, I think that's a big reason why you saw a weekend full of a bunch of different blowouts.
It's always good for us when we have buys, sit back, relax, watch the games just as fans of football, and then to have San Francisco in the NFC West, the only team playing, to lose. So really good weekend for both the Seahawks and the Rams. I got to ask you, is Caleb Williams, and I know it's year 1 with Ben Johnson, is he ever going to get over that hump?
Well, I'm kind of guarded and careful after watching the Geno Smith reclamation project in Seattle. Yeah. Now the Sam Darnold.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Baker
Mayfield. I'm kind of reticent to just put a stamp that this guy can't do it, especially if they want to. I don't know. Are you much of a reader, Lance, of books?
No, unfortunately, that's why I'm dumb, Brock. I don't have the attention span. It's why I don't like golf. You know, I'll go to the bookstore with girlfriend, and she's a big reader, and I'll pick up a couple of books, and then they'll just sit on the nightstand.
Yeah. Readers are leaders, Lance. Yeah. Readers are leaders.
I believe it.
Just know that.
Yeah.
But I'm just finishing up Seth Wickersham's book called American Kings. I think he's one of the preeminent sports writers in America. My friends that work with him at ESPN, and obviously you know him from Deflategate and from the Seahawks story he wrote on Sherman and the craziness with Russell and all of that. He's really good at what he does. But his new book, and it came out I think last month. It's a great read. You would actually, any football junkie, any football fan, any fan of quarterback play would love it. It's called American Kings, and it follows the trajectory of a lot of different quarterbacks. Back Arch when he was in high school, kid down at Colin Lacey down at LSU that was one of the most heralded quarterbacks ever out of Florida area. And he's had, car accidents and other stuff derail his career, but it is a great read on quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams is front and center, as his dad, Carl, is front and center in that book. And you see, man, how really this thing from like junior high, they really tried to write the script, to navigate it, to put him in the best position everywhere and anywhere he could be with trainers, with the schools he was at, obviously Lincoln Riley at SC in Oklahoma. It's a pretty fascinating read. And this is obviously, and last year was the biggest valley he ever hit in his life. He feels like he's climbing out of it this year. So to say, will he ever get it? I'm not going to necessarily bet against him because I think he has a tremendous care factor of being great. And I think that's a really important attribute.
It's pretty amazing. And look, Bo Nix, another big game yesterday. But if you asked around the league, I would assume, and I could be wrong here, if you guys could redraft any second-year quarterback, I think Drake May would be the guy that most would take. And another big outing against, a bad Browns team where he goes 18-24, 3 touchdowns. He seems like a franchise quarterback. I don't know how else to say it. He looks the part.
Yeah, and I had probably the most reservations. I mean, Penix's body, I have real reservations, and you and I do this every week, and I talk about those things from a scouting perspective a lot, just the size, the height, weight, length, speed, like just the tools that you've got to have. And it's why, like, I've got concerns about a Kyler Murray or concerns about a Mac Jones or concerns about those guys. Now with Drake, he checked every one of those boxes, right? Great height, weight, length, arm strength, speed, athleticism, like checked all of them. But that last year in Carolina kind of scared me a little bit of just like, oh, is this kind of Sam Howell-esque where huge season and then you kind of fall off when your supporting cast diminishes? And, what's it going to look like from a sense of urgency? What's it going to look like from attention to detail? What's it going to look like at the next level? And man, he has surprised me and wowed me the most. I didn't know if I saw this out of him. And if you're in New England, how can you not be excited about, wow, we watched what Bill Belichick and Tom Brady did, right? We watched that pairing work together incredibly well. Well, now you've got a Vrabel or a Belichick disciple that seems to really get it, and you got a quarterback with every attribute and tool that is elevating people around him and just off to a terrific, terrific start this year.
Well, off to a terrific start, too, was Cam Scatterbo, and just a horrific injury in the second quarter. I can't remember two rookies on a really, really bad team that galvanize everybody, including the fan base. And these two are so much fun to watch. And when he got the injury against Philadelphia, it's just devastating as a fan to see something like that. But, you going back to your playing days, from Washington to playing in the NFL, do you remember a significant injury from a big-time player on your team? And what does that do moving forward? How does that affect the team's mentality?
Yeah, it is hard. Maybe not one like this, right? With such a young guy, that just his aura, just the way that he goes about it with Jackson and the pairing of those two, like peanut butter and jelly, like, man, this is fun. I don't know what's going to look like. I don't know how many games we're going to win, but I got a fun factor and I got to watch these guys. What's interesting, Lance, is not only am I the body expert, I'm also the injury expert because I had that same injury. So I played my redshirt freshman year. I redshirted, watched older brother. Then the next year got to play on a really good team with Corey Dillon and great dudes. And I think we won like 8 of our 9 last games and lost to Colorado in a bowl game. Rick Neuheisel, Ray Caruth, Matt Russell, Coy Detmer, super fun game. And then like a week later, Damon texted me and said, hey, I got this men's league game. He was out of the NFL that season, saving the Seahawks with Paul Allen and raising money and awareness. And he's like, I got this men's league. We're a guy short. You want to play? And I'm like, sure. So I go and play and get this fast break, and I go down, and this guy kind of bumps me midair. Nothing crazy. Fall down. I'm like, I knew right away, like, something's wrong here. And I look down at my knee, and I could move my knee, and I'm like, okay, knee's okay. And I look down at my ankle, and I could kind of move my ankle without pain. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I'm all right. And then I looked over, and my sock was filling with blood.
Ugh.
So, you got your tibia and fibia down there, and the force of, me rolling over. And so, like Scattaboo yesterday, all of that force, and what happens is it dislocates, and those two bones break. Your tib fib break. Well, for me, my tib fib, because of all the milk that Grandma Peg made me drink growing up, they didn't break, and they punctured through the skin. And then thankfully my foot popped back. It didn't stay in that position that Scattaboo's did, or I would have probably gone into shock and passed out. So my foot popped back, but I had this big open wound on my ankle that was just bleeding. And Uncle Damon picked me up like William Wallace and ran me to the SUV, and we called the UW team doctor. And this was at the time that the movie The Program was out, right? And homeboy Mac just destroyed his career with his leg injury. And I'm laying there, and they had to cut my shoe off. And they're like, this is crazy. Like 99 of 100 times those bones break. And then you got to get a plate and screws and all of that mess. And I would have missed a long time. And instead, they didn't. Instead, I went home to Puyallup. Grandma and my mom would scrape my wound. I'd dip it in Epsom salt, soak it every day. I'd elevate it. And 2 months later, I did spring ball. And that ankle feels great. The other one feels worse in this day and age. So,
well, have you?
I dealt with it. Yeah,
it's one of the things that I gave up these men's league basketball. We used to play all the time, and I started turning the ankle, and I'm like, it just ain't worth it. Have you played since?
I played since, very guarded.
Yeah.
I go mouthpiece. I go double ankle braces. No, I'm just kidding. No, I play a little bit, but I'm it's more of the Achilles now. Like you see guys all the time pop their Achilles, and that's a no bueno. I don't want any part of that. So I'm careful. I'm more shoot around. I'll rebound for the girls and Titus and have some fun in that way. But yeah, just devastating. And he'll be okay. They pop that thing back. They'll plate it up. They'll put screws. He'll be back playing next year. But hopefully it won't hinder. He needs his speed, every bit of his speed, as much as he can. That's why he was a 4th round pick. So I hope he can bounce back from that and not lose much of a step.
So we will end Week 9 in the NFL tonight with the Commanders going on the road. They're taking on Kansas City without their starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Marcus Mariota, the former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Oregon, will get the start here on the road. A guy that's experienced, but you don't expect the Commanders with a backup quarterback to roll into Arrowhead and beat this Chiefs team that is finally whole. Xavier Worthy is playing at another level right now. Rashee Rice is back, so you've got weapons for Mahomes. If you were doing your power rankings, where do you have Kansas City right now in the NFL?
Yeah, I think I have them right back in the top 5. I mean, Patrick is that kind of guy. There's not many of them. I think he and Josh and not Stafford to a degree can kind of go anywhere and put them with the right people and elevate them. But yeah, I'd put them top 5. I mean, the Colts, it's just remarkable, Lance. I was looking at their numbers this morning, and 100 plus 116 scoring differential, number 1 scoring offense in the league. Their ability to run it and Daniel Jones play off of all of that run game, and just Shane Steichen's done a phenomenal job. Buffalo, a nice win yesterday, kind of flexing their muscle. New England, another team atop the AFC East, I believe, with a plus 50-something scoring differential. So, there's going to be some pretty formidable foes through that AFC. But come on, man, Mahomes, give him weapons, good offensive line, a defense that also can be super, super salty when healthy. That's still one of the 5 best teams in the league.
Okay, as we make a transition to college football, we are going to get to the LSU job, because I got to get your take on Brian Kelly and $53 million. He is out. Pretty amazing where we are right now as far as firing coaches in college football. But in Starkville, Mississippi State, they've got this, it seemed like, insurmountable lead, up 31-14 in the 4th. Texas outscores them 24-7. They go to overtime. Matthew Caldwell comes in for an injured Arch Manning. 1 throw, 1 touchdown. They win the game. Not only win, they get the cover. So I'm dead and buried. I've got Texas minus 6.5, so it was an amazing backdoor cover. First of all, talk about where you are with Texas, and then I want to transition and get to Mississippi State and special announcement here on Unlocked.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, Texas just doesn't feel like what I think all of us thought they would be going in this year. I think many of us, and I'll raise my hand, I don't know, Lance, if you were there, just kind of looked at an established culture, looked at the recruiting classes they've had. Yeah, they've lost people, but man, they've got a ton of talent, ton of speed, ton of athleticism. And I think many of us put them in the same boat as Ohio State in that regard, just from a pure, like, man, those guys off the bus, I want him, and I want him, and I want him, and I want him. But, you know, you've watched enough now, and especially on the road, to see that they're not in that ilk. You know, they're just, for whatever reason, you know, the newness of it, a very young quarterback, first-year player. You know, I love Sark. I think he's one of the best game callers, game schemers, game planners in college football, but it just is not, it's been fits and starts, and it just has not been, I think, what many of us anticipated. But there is a sense of belief, and it's been an overriding theme for you and I over the course of this season for programs to trying to take that step, trying to get over that hump. And I think deep down, they believe they're Texas, and they believe that they are 5 stars and 4 stars and should go into Starkville and win. And I think for Mississippi State, there is still that feeling like, yeah, we're little brother that's got to get over the hump. We got to take this step. We got to win one of these games. We got to actually beat Tennessee when it's there. We actually got to not throw a pick and kick a field goal when it's there. We actually got to go finish them in the fourth quarter when we got a multi-score lead. They just have not been able to do that. I mean, so easily could have won all 3 of those games, and instead are just kind of kicking themselves going, when is this going to turn?
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like, I wasn't trying to show disrespect to Mississippi State, but I said, I think they're the most improved team maybe in college football, but they're not going to win again. And I said this before Tennessee, and they've lost 4 consecutive games. Now, you know, the Florida game, the Tennessee game, and the Texas game, all very winnable for Jeff Lebby. Yeah. I mean, still moving forward, you've got Arkansas, but then you've got Georgia, Missouri, and Ole Miss. So I don't know if they're going to win a conference game this year, 16 consecutive SEC losses. But you can see the improvement with Jeff Lebby. There is a semblance of offense. Blake Shapen had a career day with 381 yards and 4 touchdowns. But to our announcement, Titus Huard, I love to bring up how the weekend was. You can tell us how the games went this past weekend, but tell us the big announcement and the conversation you had from a sitting SEC head coach.
Yeah, Thursday night, we played a school 4 hours away. We had some snow to navigate on the way home, so we ended up, and the coach planned ahead. So we really had to rough it and stay in Vail, Colorado, Lance. I don't know if you've ever been to Vail, but it was really rough for the boys. Good news is one of the team moms was a general manager at this hotel for years and years. So that's the only way we made that thing work in the planning and preparation and budget standpoint, and it was phenomenal. So, yeah, we got after a team that was not as good as us and kind of did what you're supposed to do. And you do get to do that in high school a lot more than you do in the college and the NFL games. So took care of that. And then pretty exciting, man, on Friday, Coach Lebby reached out to our coach and got Titus on the horn and made Titus his first SEC offer, Mississippi State and Coach Lebby. That was pretty cool. I've covered him at Baylor. I covered him at Oklahoma. I've known him for some time, and I just think he's a good human being. And I know we'll get to the LSU story and the rest of college football, Lance, but yeah, good human beings, like, who really genuinely treat people well, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in the ranking, no matter where you are in the status, no matter where you are in the job, in the building, like, you just are a good human being and you care about people and you treat people well. Coach Lebby's, pretty high on that list and been that way as I've covered him for some time, and pretty cool that he was the first offer for Ty.
Well, I know you and Molly, that's going to be something that's going to be key when you're having your son recruited, is you want him to go play for a guy that's not only, I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but it's legitimate, not only going to make them a better player and groom him as a quarterback, but also going to make him a better person. And Jeff Lebby, I have heard anytime his name has come up, how well respected this guy is. And obviously, it's not necessarily equating to wins, but you can tell Mississippi State is night and day from what they were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And then just a conviction, right? You want somebody. We had Matt Hasselback on our show this morning. I love talking to Matt. And I don't know if he's ever been on your guys' show, Lance, but he's so good. And, he coaches in Tennessee. He coaches his nephew now. He coached his son up in the Northeast when he was done playing. And just kind of having football conversations with him is an absolute blast because we go way back to our time in Seattle together and we've remained friends for well over 20 years. And, I asked him about the Seahawks and what stands out to him. And he was recognized as one of the 50 great legends a couple of weeks ago. They brought everybody back for that Tampa Bay game. And he just said, man, you could see it. They've got a conviction. They got a conviction and a belief in how they want to play. And then just it's a player-led total buy-in. And I think you look at the teams in the NFL, I think as we transition and talk college, I think it's the same thing. Like which teams, Lance, top ahead for you? Can you say, hey, these 5 teams in college football have a genuine, true conviction about the way they want to play? Like I know this without a doubt. I don't even know the names on the back of the jersey, but through the culture and the coach and the program, like these guys have conviction with the way they want to play. Who are the 4 or 5 that come to mind?
Indiana.
Okay.
Alabama.
100%.
I think Oregon. I hate to just go power. I mean, Ohio State. I mean,
yes.
It's a well-oiled machine. And Georgia.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think it's a surprise. They all got loads of talent, but they have all of those things and a true conviction, and this is the way we're going to play, and it. I would say Vandy's building that.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool to watch, what they've done over these years, and their QB that's little William Wallace flamethrower, and just, not with his passes, but with his personality and his persona and his aura. And yeah, man, we're going to do this. I think Vandy's done an awesome job with that. I think Lincoln Riley had that at Oklahoma in spades, is still in year 4, trying to really put that imprint down there at SC. I think Matt Rule's trying to do it at Nebraska. He knows kind of what it's supposed to look like, but I don't think it's a surprise that those teams you all mentioned are the teams at the top of the list, not just because of their talent, but because they truly, genuinely, Curt Cignetti's roster of 22 compared to the roster of Ohio State or the roster of Oregon or the roster of Georgia. Come on now. It's not 11-11. I don't even know if it's 15-7. It's probably closer to 17-5. But he's got those guys playing with such belief and such conviction, and this is what we do and how we do it. And we're going to go out there and roll, and man, are they rolling and fun to watch.
So full disclosure, I had LSU plus 2.5 points. I thought it was going to be one of those nights in Baton Rouge where going into the game, Brian Kelly 20-1 under the lights in Tiger Stadium. They're up 18-14 at halftime. And boy, Texas A&M an absolute buzzsaw in that second half. I knew if LSU lost, it was going to be an elimination game, like they're out of the college football playoff. I didn't realize it would be an elimination game for Brian Kelly. And now we're talking about a coach, and maybe it was just a terrible fit. I don't know, but he's got multiple 10-win seasons. You played for an SEC championship in year 1. You had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You are 5-3, and you did get embarrassed at home where a lot of people were leaving Tiger Stadium early in that game. But how shocked are you that Brian Kelly is out in Baton Rouge, and how good of a job is this to you?
Yeah, I wasn't horrifically shocked and amazed. And, this is this day and age of college football. This is just the transactional nature of it. It doesn't matter what you did in the past, what you did in wherever it was, Central Michigan or Cincinnati or Notre Dame. It just doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's all about what you do right now. None of this matters for players of what you did the year before or the year before that. It's all about what you're doing, Garrett Nussmeier, or not doing right now. And it is a total NFL model. It is, you got to perform. We're paying you. You got to get the job done. If not, we're going to find the next man up. That old NFL, not for long. Well, college football has turned into not for long. So not surprised. And I don't think, Lance, there was much connective tissue. I don't think there was much connective tissue with his AD. I don't think there was much connective tissue with his board. I don't think there was much connective tissue with the governor. I don't think there was much connective tissue with the fans. That really started day one with this stupid, totally hokey, fake accent, get on the basketball court, let alone all the other recruiting stuff that are memes and going to be memes for years to come. So, yeah, when you don't have connective tissue and you don't win and it's not trending the right way, you are not for long in college football, just like the NFL.
Okay, so go back to the last time your beloved Huskies won a national championship, 1991. Rotating quarterbacks, right? Billy Joe Hobart,
Yep.
Mark Brunell. They had a moment that season where they survive a game in Berkeley against Cal. I don't know if you remember this, but it was a 7-point game. It was a game that, you look on
Vividly.
paper, you think, hey, look, they blow this team out. The reason I bring it up, Kalen DeBoer, who you know well, Alabama, coming off 4 consecutive ranked wins in the SEC. They had lowly South Carolina. They're a 12.5-point favorite, and they were heading into a bye. And they scratched and clawed, and they were down 8 with 2.5 minutes to go, and they found a way to win that game. But what can a win like that do, in a situation where you're supposed to win it going away, but you find a way to come back and win it? Now you're going into a bye. On paper it wasn't a great win, but you still won. I mean, what can this do for a team like Alabama?
Yeah, you just got to do it on the road, right? I mean, it's going to be hard in the SEC no matter where you go. And South Carolina is totally desperate. They're back against the wall. This can make our season. You get their absolute best shot. Alabama's known that for decades. That's what's happened. When you're the top dog, you get everybody's best shot. They're going to empty the tank against you and just go find a way to win. And to do that on the road and then to have that trip home and how sweet those moments are, Lance. I mean, honestly, you put all the work in and all the grind and all the stress and all the anxiety and all the performance and all of it, and you too empty the tank. And I don't care if you win by a point, 7 or 20 or 30, those bus rides or those plane trips home, those are pretty awesome. And then to get a bye week and to just kind of go, okay, now we go finish this sprint to the finish line. So important to do that on the road. We saw the road loss early in Tallahassee. I think that was galvanizing for this crew. And I don't think you ever in league against still an opponent that's got some dudes and a pretty talented quarterback ever feel bad about finding a way to win.
It is so stupid we had a shared national championship. At least we do decide this stuff on the field. I am right that was really the only game you guys were challenged, right?
Nebraska earlier in the year, and that was really the kind of stake in the ground, going to beat Tom Osborne. I think that was at night. I so remember that vividly. I remember hearing from, Damon was on the roster, redshirting, all the fans cheering the Huskies, the Nebraska fans cheering them, standing ovation going into the locker room after the game for the game that they played, the spirit they played. That was a ferocious contest. And Mark Pulaski was the QB at Cal and Strawberry Canyon. Keith Gilbertson. No, it was the coach that then went to ASU. Really, really good. And he had some dudes, some NFL
Bruce
dudes
Snyder
on that Cal team. Really, really good team. And outside of that was about it until they rolled Michigan in the Rose Bowl.
Okay, you brought up Nebraska. Nebraska is hosting USC. You've got family on the staff. This is another one of those.
I'll be in the building. I'll be in the building Saturday
nice.
night. Titus' 16th birthday. Bringing a couple of his Valor teammates. So I think I'm getting an RV of some sort, and I'm going to be driving the 7 hours from here to there. So I'll be there Saturday night.
You are such the dad, man. You don't have any downtime at all. But I want to ask you, because this is, I don't think people are saying Nebraska or USC's in the college football playoff, but if they want to get there, they got to continue to win, and they got to win out. So this is an elimination game. SC's coming off a bye. Nebraska survives and advances against Northwestern this past weekend. Where are you right now with Lincoln Riley and USC? And I brought up, look, I think it's an improved team, but there is a link between Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley. They came into these jobs at the same time. They're getting paid about the same kind of money. The expectations are the same. And the fact of the matter is Brian Kelly's won more games than Lincoln Riley. You wouldn't foresee, if they were to lose a couple of games, something happening to Lincoln Riley, would you?
I don't think so, Lance. They're finishing a football ops building. I think, when I hear, it's funny, I hear Urban Meyer constantly say USC's the best job in America. And you look at it and you realize there's really only been one guy since, I don't know, John Robinson in the 80s that really won there. And obviously he won at a magnificent level, but I think we in the business can all attest that the way that Pete was winning at USC in the 2000s was a little in the gray, right? It was doing a little bit differently than others were at that time from a recruiting and an acquisition standpoint. And then they flourished and they took off. Outside of Pete, go look at it since John Robinson. Go look at the challenges there, because there are, and especially, before this facility was built, the facilities were really bad. getting to and from, and having coaches with families and raise like hard. I mean, it's an off-site, a little bit off-site stadium in the Coliseum that it can be and still is really, really special. But, like when I hear these people say, oh, and there's a reason that a lot of other quality coaches turn down that job for a lot of years. Like, that's not as easy as you think. It's not as gravy as you think. LA is a unique kind of market. They're with you when you win, and they are out when you lose, and can be a bit fickle. So, yeah, I think their new facility is going to be unbelievable. They've recruited to it. It's why they've got the #1 class coming in next year. The amount of resources that have been thrown into it with Jen Cohen's leadership have been phenomenal. The arrow is going up. And now you got to go win these games, right? You got to go find a way to get to 9 or 10 wins this year, take that step. And then next year, with all of this talent, and especially talent coming in defensively, you should be much more of a playoff and title contender.
Back to Brian Kelly and the firing of Brian Kelly yesterday. It's not done. I mean, we're going to get more and more job openings when, said guy takes a job, then his job opens up and stuff. But right now, when you look at this, I think most people would say LSU, Florida, Penn State, not even close. Those are your 3 best jobs available. If you're hiring for any of these schools, does it depend on the program, who you're going after? Are you fishing from the same pond? And if you're an AD at any of these schools, like, who is your guy right now?
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the chaos? I mean, just imagine, the Oklahoma State AD, who I really like, just got an extension. I think they want him to try to navigate these waters with all of his, Chad Weiberg, all of his years of experience and connective tissue and relationships, right? Because that's not in that group, but it's still a good job. You see a lot. I mean, what is there, 8 Power 4 jobs right now open
in October?
Again, it's the NFL, right? It's like the NFL. The NFL every year is like 5 coaching jobs out of 32. We're at 8 right now. What will that get to? Will that get to 10, 12, 15? I don't know, but it's going to be an enormous number, unlike anything we've seen with these power jobs. So, yeah, for me, Lance, if I'm in that spot, I've got that card already in my desk that, these are the guys that I really would target.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fire a guy unless you have that list, right? Like, that 100%. Is irresponsible if you are firing a guy like Brian Kelly if you don't think that you've got 2 or 3 guys that you can hire.
That's right. And you've already heard from Trace Armstrong. You've already heard from Jimmy Sexton, because those agents that run so much of this, they do their job, and they leverage and they market and they make sure that they're taking care of their clients and having those conversations. And then you're going to hear the names like Matt Campbell, right? Just these quality guys that have been at programs without the resources of these others. You're going to hear of Colin Klein, who right now is leading as the offensive coordinator, the 3rd best offense in the country, right, at Texas A&M, and is an incredible human being that people are going to want. That's kind of one of the things. Now, Billy Napier, by all accounts, and everyone I've heard from, would all say the same thing: salt of the earth, give you the shirt off his back, a genuine good dude. But a lot of these other openings, I think, are there because people are just tired of dealing with the person, and they want a new person in charge, and a person that they believe in, and a person that they believe cares about others. And that's where I think the intrigue of this, let alone the pure just motion of this, is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen in college football, Lance.
And I love me some Colin Klein. Going back to his playing days at Kansas State under Bill Snyder, as a coordinator there, what he's doing right now. We were talking about who are the great coordinators out there right now that could possibly get some of these jobs, and I think Colin Klein is a great answer right there. The hot name, obviously, for both LSU and Florida is Lane Kiffin, and I see he's on McAfee right now. We did talk about this. Whether he stays at Ole Miss or goes to one of those 2 jobs, he more than likely, in the next couple of months, is going to be the highest-paid coach in college football. If you're Lane Kiffin, what you're building at Ole Miss, and I think it's going to be really difficult for them to avoid making the college football playoff with that win Saturday in Norman. But if you're Lane, do you stay somewhere where nothing's really been done since the 60s in Oxford? Or do you take one of these jobs where LSU and Florida, they win championships? What do you do if you're Kiffin? And would you want Kiffin if you're one of these 2 programs?
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, you're going to probably want to go somewhere to win a national title. Right? I mean, you've put up all these yards. You've had a lot of success as a coordinator. You've had success as a head coach. Now, like, you look in the mirror and go, what am I doing all this for? I'm doing all of this to try to win a title, right? To do what my dad Monty did with Tampa Bay and win that Super Bowl. And like, can I be a champion? Why else would I do all of this? How much and how many more millions of dollars do I need in my bank account? I think ultimately that's probably the judgment. And if he believes, and I would challenge you on one word, because I think it's an old school word. I think it's a word that you and I used in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s. And that word is build. What do you mean build? What are you building in college football today? You're not building anything. You're just on a year-to-year basis trying to acquire the most talent you can. And if you get to keep them for another year and go on another year run with those guys, great. But by and large, the whole roster turns over and it's the next guy and it's the next guy. So the old Bill Snyder, the old Don James, the old Jim Tressel, the old, go through any of those, or Urban Meyer, build. We don't get to build. We just have to do it right now. And I would think for Lane, he would be really attractive to both those places, and he'll get his pick.
Okay, before we get out of here, I want to throw this out there to you. When is Titus's season over? I know it depends on playoffs, but what's the deepest they can go date-wise?
Yeah, the deepest they could go would be the first week of December.
Okay.
So that would be the state title game. Things would have to fall in some ways, and we'd have to play really, really good. So we finish regular season Thursday. We'll have a first-round bye, and then we'll get to the Sweet 16 of the playoffs after that.
Okay. For whatever reason, if you guys are eliminated before November 16th, I am heading to L.A. I've already talked to you about the Iowa-USC game that I'm going to, but Sunday I'm going to SoFi for the first time to see a game. Your Seahawks in SoFi against the Rams. If you're free, you need to fly over.
Oh,
yeah.
That'd be a good little weekend right there. SoFi is phenomenal. It is a really, really cool place that when you see it on TV, Lance, you can tell it's really cool. And then you get there and you're like, wow, this is incredibly, incredibly well done. And oh, by the way, let me just say, a team that we didn't talk about much today, the old University of Washington Huskies. Have you looked at their schedule?
I have.
So they get to 6-2.
Well,
they're on a bye this week.
And look,
they'll be favored at Wisconsin. They'll be favored versus Purdue. They'll be favored at UCLA. I think a real chance to be 9-2 and welcome the Oregon Ducks to Montlake for what would and could be a really, really big game at the end of November as well.
It is interesting. Nobody's talking about Jedd Fisch and this Washington team. And, I think it goes back. I still, Damon Williams, and I said this on a podcast Friday or Saturday or both, this year there are going to be times he will play like one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Yep.
But I think next year it will be week in, week out. He will play like one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Against Michigan, didn't play well. Against Illinois, played extremely well. This guy is electric. It is interesting when you look at the schedule, and if you could bring DeBoer back to coach the Huskies, he owns Dan Lanning. You know what the result would be there. But that would be fascinating. In Husky Stadium, as you said, one of the more difficult places to play west of the Mississippi if they're hosting Oregon with an opportunity. And, if Oregon was to drop that second game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. You never know. And oh, by the way, Jedd Fisch's name will probably be in all of these conversations for many of these jobs as well down in the SEC and all over the place. This carousel, Lance, buckle up, man. It's going to be a wild, wild ride. I don't think it's done yet, and as you said earlier, once one makes one decision and those dominoes continue to fall, it is just, it is a wild and crazy time in the sport that we love of college football.
Hey, always great stuff, man, and enjoy the games. Again, congratulations to Titus, his first SEC offer as a sophomore, Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State. We'll do it again next week, my friend. Enjoy Lincoln, Nebraska. Fight on, pull them through. Big game for SC.
Yeah, wish me well on that RV ride, man. That's I got to go get licensed for it, permitted for it. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, good luck with that. That's Brock Huard. This is Unlocked. We do it every week right here. Give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We would appreciate that. More next round coming up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We appreciate everybody jumping on and hanging out with us.